Hello, everybody, and welcome to Market Moves. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops, and with me, as always, is Jay, aka Dark Matter. DM, how's it hanging, man? How was your weekend?
Yeah, everything's going pretty well. Really simple, easy weekend so that we can get ready for the chaos that is this week. So I am rested, ready for awesomeness for this
Yep,
week. How's your weekend?
that was good. My daughter's sixth birthday, so
Oh,
child birthday parties. That's all I'm gonna say.
well,
All right,
happy belated birthday to her.
all right. Let's get into it because there's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah,
Tell us what you
y-
see, and yeah, I'll chime in a little bit.
yeah, let's jump in. Let me go over here into our trade plan. So let's just kind of, just give the overview of where we're at. So, ultimately for me, what I kind of considered my weekly bias, if you want to call it that, Wiz, I think right now we need to consider fading rallies into 7,200 SPX. There's a chance that this thing can overshoot, and I have a couple of levels there that we'll take a look on any potential overshoot. But I think the index, the SPX specifically this week, that 7,200 to 7,260 zone there, I think we're going to find some resistance. You're going to see some, rallies get faded from that level, and we could potentially go back all the way to testing. And we almost did this in futures when it opened. I'm my my trade plan for this week is at least 7,130, if not 7,100, a retest of it. I think ultimately 70, 50, and 70,000 are quite robust. Those are levels we have to
So we
to
say
prove that we can.
7,000, not 70,000.
Yeah, sorry, 70, 50, and
11,70.
7,000. I was like, come out of my mouth. Why not? Like and subscribe, and don't forget. See how I weave that one in, Wiz? Let me redo this. So 7,000 and 7050, I still think is pretty robust. If you're a bear, you're going to want to see those two levels. Otherwise, neutral on the week, see extremes getting traded here, and those extremes are north of 72, or call it 7,200, and then support coming in, and they're about 7,130, 7,100. I'll quickly pause. Any just general thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually, people, if neutral is not usually a very strong call, right? Oh, we're not going to move much because it usually is. But um, honestly, with all the earnings this week and FOMC on Wednesday and Iran, which, I think I would say the caveat is Iran. And anything that we say, and we are not going to pretend we know what's going on. We're not going to pretend we know what Trump is going to do or what Iran is going to do, or I don't know any of that. But I do think that I do like so Iran aside, even with all these earnings and FOMC and all that stuff, I don't think we are going to move very much. I mean, my view is 7,200 for the week is a decent magnet, at least until like Thursday, Friday timeframe. May is very neutral Vanna. It's slightly negative, so 7,100 could happen. But like that range is basically it. I think like the big danger, the big danger strike is 7,000, and that's mainly because of June. It is also because of May, but mainly June.
Yeah.
We passed that short call, and nobody rolled it. so obviously people are not expecting it's not like a very bullish development. So
Yeah, and I think the other call out here, just to add into your summary, the breadth of the market. It's right now. If you look at it, it's basically semis at this point that's moving the market. Like, okay, yes, the AI story has been there now for a few years, but the true breadth of this market is really just semis at this point, whether it's memory or the semiconductors or AI related, I should say. So I think ultimately that's why I'm not ready to become that bear quite yet. Wiz, is we need to see some retracement in that sector. And obviously, SMDK has earnings this week. We've got NVIDIA coming in a couple of weeks. So the market's kind of prime. It's like, the calm before the storm.
Yeah. Well, also with semis, I mean, all of the cooling for, all the helium that's needed to make the semis, that's all goes to the Strait of Hormuz. So, I mean, I think semis are actually quite vulnerable from a fundamental standpoint. We started striking on February 28th, and the last shipment, the last peacetime shipment from the Strait of Hormuz arrived last week. So I think, like, from a fundamental standpoint, it's it's a little bit concerning. I don't understand necessarily why we are at all-time highs. We just kind of ripped from a short squeeze, and nobody has been gutsy enough to go back in. So
yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
it's hard
kind of
if you got caught offside on this whole move. You're like, what do I do? When do I jump in? Right?
Yeah, because I mean, that whole move, that whole short squeeze, that was definitely a heart versus head moment. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I had decent option structures and some decent hedging myself, but I mean, like, I ended up down over that week just because, I'm like, somebody's going to wake up and realize nobody's getting oil. The jet fuel shortages are across the board. They're in Europe, Middle East, Asia, and California, because that's where California, they protest pipelines, so they don't have any. So that's kind of it's kind of the macro environment. And then you look at the markets and you think, like, wait a minute, all-time highs? Do I read that right? So I think it's just going to take it might just take something more substantial for, it's because it's semis and it's energy, and that's it.
Yeah, gotta see what happens with this inflation. So speaking of which, let's jump in that. So again, earnings, if you were living under a rock or not paying attention to our amazing show, which you should like and subscribe, because we do this amazing analysis every Monday. Same bat channel, same bat time here on YouTube and X. So thank you, Jill. All right. So again, in terms of earnings, just call those out, right? I think there's a few interesting ones here around the semi space. Rambus, for example, here again, not major mover, but it's just a good insight. What I'm really looking forward to in the week, though, is going to be starting with UPS and Spotify. Obviously, just how is consumer spending, discretionary spending, things of that nature. That will be important. We also have GM, just how's the health of the US vehicle market is always good to know. We then have Robinhood. This is now the future of all of our kids' brokerage, so we must follow Hood, Wiz. They are reporting. They are reporting Tuesday. Yeah, exactly. They're democratizing trading, so don't forget, Wiz.
Nobody gets a vote.
All right, let me keep going here. Seagate, Visa, that is another one on Tuesday that I will be paying attention to. And then as we go into Wednesday, it's been a while. I think it's been, almost 6+ years where earnings in one given day, we've had Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Alphabet. Let's add in Ford, why not? And Chipotle, if you really want to just toss in a few other items in there. And then we got Apple, SanDisk, and then Western Digital. And then for you Reddit fans, that is also on Thursday, and then MasterCard. So if you don't think this week is going to be crazy, I think this one image here is good enough for you.
Yeah, but I don't. I still don't. I'm still kind of neutral. It can get crazy though. So I mean, your choice is either to buy the dips and sell the rips, or put on a condor at the end of the month. At the end of the week, and see how it runs. I think Wednesday actually. I read somewhere that Wednesday, depending on it's close. is a record for the most percentage of SPX reporting in one day. Is that true?
It is.
It's like
I didn't get the percentage
yeah,
right, but I have $11 trillion worth of
yeah. It's like
combined
that's like
market cap.
25%.
Yeah.
I think like the market is what 42 trillion right now or something like
Something
that.
like
That's
that.
almost
Yeah.
that's basically a little what 26, 27% of the whole SPX is reporting on Wednesday.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
Again, to your point, we've got our levels here. We know
No,
what to
before
expect.
we move on, I did want to announce
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I go back to the earnings.
Yes,
So
of course.
we will go over one earnings today, but go to www.vollanddiscord.com if you are not already there. And I know a majority of you are on there that are watching right now. But if you are not, please go on, join our page, and we're going to go through a lot of these earnings, and by request at 4:00 tomorrow. And it'll be a Discord. It'll be a Discord subs chat, or not subs chat. It'll be for everybody. It'll be for the general public. Don't have to be a Volland subscriber to join. But yeah, we're going to go through these earnings one by one and hit them up. So yeah, that's kind of the announcement we have. I think we're going to go through Meta today on this show, but we are going to be going through earnings then. That, like, if you're joining this show interested in earnings, go to Volland Discord, and we're going to have a show for that tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So okay,
I'm excited to that. That should be a fun little episode you're running there. So
it'll be fun. And the other thing too is, I don't see all these. I don't know a fundamental thesis on all these. I have some ideas. Like, I think UPS is going to suffer from high gas prices, stuff like that. But I think that a lot of these, a lot of you probably have better fundamental theses, and you can chime in. That's why I'd rather do it more interactively instead of kind of pushing my own pushing just Volland, so that way we could all collaborate. So tomorrow at 4 is a better time for that.
Like it. All right, great. We'll be tuning in. So, all right, that is obviously Friday. A couple of big oil conglomerates are going to be reporting there, so I kind of forgot about that, but that is Friday. And
you
then
also forgot Avis.
Yeah,
Avis
car.
Wednesday.
Oh God, how did I forget? My God, I'm so sorry. We're right here. There you
car. Come on, man.
I know. I mean, we did talk about it here a couple weeks ago, and we called for the 600 target. I didn't know it was going to go to 800, but
you told me about it. That was the first time I heard that was going ballistic.
Yeah. I've been watching it from about like 250, 300. I think I told you that day, and I regret just not buying that one. I was focused on other tickers, so I made well over the past month, but that's the one I'm sad I missed. Yes. It was fun to watch from here, but I'm like, oh, that sucked.
All right.
All right, let's keep going here, Wiz. So on the economic calendar front, if we call that out, obviously what has kind of gone under the radar this week is you have FOMC as well. So that makes for an interesting month and earnings week when we have FOMC. So that's Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And also, don't forget later this week, then on Thursday, we've got GDP, the advanced GDP number coming out. We've got core PCE, employment numbers. And then Friday, we've got manufacturing, PMI, and prices. Kind of really looking forward to seeing what those numbers come out to be. Yeah, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the one big thing for me is the FOMC, and it's not so much the interest rates. I think what I'm looking for is Powell will probably announce his decision as to whether he's going to stay on when Warsh comes on, versus retire. I think he's been hinting kind of, there's been speculation that he's going to stay on as a Fed governor, even though he's coming down as a chair. That would be not unprecedented. I think some other governors did that, but not for a long time. Most of the time, the Fed chair, when they step down, they're out. And Powell it's kind of, he refers to history a lot when he makes his decisions. So it's kind of curious if he would stay on, it would be kind of bucking history a little bit. I think if he were to come off, that would not be good for Fed independence. So, that could be a mini catalyst in itself. Powell will probably, he'll have to announce now, because before he said he wasn't going to step down until his investigation was done, or whatever. And I think last Friday they announced that his investigation is done, maybe done or something. I don't. They said something like they're moving it from DOJ to somebody else or something. Whatever. But so I don't really know exactly what's happening there. But I think the market overall is very much approves of Powell's leadership. So, I don't know though. If Powell steps down, I don't know if even how the market would react to it. So,
yeah, it's an interesting one, because at some point you're like, okay, there's no interest cuts here, most likely, right? Going into this, FOMC, but the dynamics around Powell and Warsh, right? That's going to play out here, obviously, as well. So again, it's an action-packed week. Keep an eye out on it. So let's just jump into those levels, and then we'll go into Wiz. We'll go into Volland here to take a look at it. So again, to me, there's like three critical levels here that I'm kind of looking at for on the week, Wiz. We talked about 7,200 and kind of that call wall that's stacked up there. 7,000 is kind of that mega floor there. Once it caves, it's going to really go. And then you kind of just have this band here around 7,150, I would even say, to 7,170. We kind of bounced in and out of it all overnight here. That's going to be kind of like your pivot between those two larger bands of 7,200 and 7,100. So that's ultimately what I was kind of looking at. So if we did overshoot above 7,200 SPX, and you can see here, this gives you a nice just visual representation here, how stacked that wall is at 7,200 here. You're then looking at potentially guiding all the way up to 7,250, and then above 7,250 or 55 gets you to 7,300. So that's kind of like you're stacking if you got earnings that are kind of ripping. And then to the downside, we clearly talked a lot about that with 7,000. Like that's where you need the bears to make some push, break it down, get through it. If you look at the term structure, which by the way, I love these widgets now in Volland. I'm like falling in love with them, so I can see where those dealers are. They here this week, next week. A lot of it, you've got that call wall peak here for the next 2 weeks. So, if things are to relatively change, they need to change this given week over the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, you got a call wall peak there across the 2 to 1 week time range. Your monthly calls are also kind of peaking at about 7,200, and 0 to 30 DTE, you've got a little bit of push up to 7,300 potentially there. So that's it on my end. So let me kind of go over here and we can just visualize this. And if you don't mind, I'll let you do some commentary on your own here.
Yeah, sure. So this is just puts. Do you want to do both?
Oh, yes, of course. I can definitely do that.
I was looking at that. I'm like, I remember something more than that, but
yeah. I must have done that earlier when I was testing something. So my bad. There we go. On the weekly. Boom. All right. There, much better.
Yeah. So now, this is All right, so this is over the next week. Um,
You
that
want a specific time frame?
7,200 is the. I'm sorry.
You want a specific time frame, or is this good?
No. For the week is fine. 7,200 is that big. It's a big strike right there. And I see a lot of resistance even above that. We could bounce a little bit, but there's like that strong positive, that strong green area right there. It looks like somebody was trying to sell. What is that? 72. Was it 72.50? Yeah, right
These two
there.
here? Yeah, 72, 50, 55.
Yeah, it looks like somebody was selling 72.55, 72.60 verticals, thinking like that call vertical would be strong. It's actually probably a pretty good play. I kind of like it. I think that 7,200 is going to be very difficult to pass. And if it does pass it, you're just going to your short strike there at 72.55. So I do like I like 7,200 as a peak. Anything above 72.55, that's a risk I'm willing to take. And 7,200 really is a risk that I'd be willing to take, just not as much. Obviously, it's close, right? There are a lot of possible catalysts that can push us, but I still think like even if it pushes us, it'll come back down. It'll be one of those like news pushes where it shoots up all the way up and then reverts for a while. It's if any of these catalysts are positive. On the negative side, it doesn't really look great.
No, I mean, and anytime I see a weekly Vanna like this from an exposure, like
yeah, and it's kind of small too. I think once you get down past that 60, that 70 area, and you get over that peak, you can, you're going to need to like go strong below that to roll down that hill. And I think there's some negative catalysts that can do it, so I'm not discounting that, but yeah, that area is, that's like the critical area right there. And we seem to be somewhat approaching it now, huh?
Which area?
Yeah, I mean, like probably once we open, we might, go down to like 71.50 or something. But I do think that, today will be relatively neutral, maybe modestly bullish. That's kind of what I see. But 7,200 is kind of a peak for the day, definitely.
Well, and we did gap down, right? The market did open and hit. Let's not forget it almost did hit that 71.30 level I mentioned SPX, so which is roughly about 71.70 ES. So it did come close to that, and we rallied basically up to then 72.08 ES, which is about 71.80 SPX. So yeah, I think you got some resistance above head. It again, depending on what your sector is, your individual ticker, you can be buying into the semis. They can keep rallying potentially. If you look at ARM, MU, even in futures, Wiz, they're just not going to be your largest market cap shares out there in the market, right? So, those could be bullish still, but you're going to need many of those to be bullish to keep moving this market. It takes one Meta, one Google, one Microsoft to really bring us down, and it could bring us down. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, go check out Meta. Let's do Meta. Then I think we had a couple questions, and then I will talk about the Discord again. And
all right, I'm going to go to all expiration just so we can kind of look at the extremes here. So, yeah. I mean, clearly, 750 stands out here, and negative Vanna here at 700. You can clearly see not much support down below spot. So I'm gonna I'll come back to this here.
There's a lot of people buying calls there.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. A lot of people buying calls.
Well, then what looked interesting this morning when I was looking at this is just from the dealer book, right? The gamma side, you got 665 and 750 from like the dealer's book. So with that, Wiz, you let me know where you want me to drive. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's that 750 right there. But then look at right above that 750, the big negative there, 800.
800.
It looks like that is a sold vertical. Somebody does not think Meta is going to, surpass that. But they think it could be neutral. So, I mean, that strike that you're on top right now, the 800 is the largest in the scope of gamma, because gamma is usually large near the money. So that's kind of a crazy like sold call vertical there on Meta. Maybe somebody bought Meta shares and that's like their hedge on them. I don't know, but that's kind of a bearish move. And then, but overall though, it looks like a lot of people are buying calls on this, other than that one short. So I think the upside can be capped, and the downside is, there's not as much support. It doesn't look like many people are buying puts on it, but so that means kind of I would say the I don't know what's the catalyst impact. I would say it would lean neutral, but like bearish, because there's some Vanna there at, some positive Vanna there underneath. So that's kind of what I see. What's the catalyst impact?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's so hard with Meta, to be quite honest with you, because it's like, first we're in the metaverse and going to become, AI avatars or whatever the heck he was going to turn us into, elephant gifts. I don't even remember NFTs, if that was the thing. We're not so much going to be doing that. I think what really hurts me here is I think their revenue comes in strong, Wiz. I honestly do think that their revenue is in a healthy place, but it's their CapEx. It's that spending, right? And I don't know at what point is the board, the shareholders, etc., going to just keep letting Zuck run, a free bank here, open bank, excuse me, without some of these results, right? And if I'm a shareholder, I would ask myself, when are you going to keep investing in the core part of the business, right? What is the AI venture doing for Meta and shareholders? So I think that's the uncertainty that I just don't. Obviously, I have no insights. I don't have insights to revenue, but I think it's going to be healthy. It's just their CapEx. That's the unknown. And I think because of that, their guidance could go all over the place, which will have the reaction I think you're kind of suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking now at historically, Meta has outperformed, in order. In July 25, it outperformed to the upside. October 25, it outperformed to the downside. January 26, it outperformed to the upside. I think it's expected to have a 6.3% move. All this from Orats, orats.com. And to mention, it's orats.com/Volland. You can, if you're going to subscribe to some of this data, they have really good earnings data on there, and a great option backtesting tool. I think if it were to outperform, I think it would outperform bearishly. But 6.3%, and it's almost $700. What's that? A 50-point spread, give or take, expected move here in Meta. I think that's probably. I would say I would go under if I'm doing the over under, which that's exactly what this is. If I'm doing the over under, I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I think ultimately for me, again, I'm going to just assume that he's not going to go crazy with CapEx. And if I just had to go with like what I think their earnings are, I see a push there. I think ultimately that's what you'll see, a reaction. And we could go tag that upper range that we just talked about there, not the 800 upper range. I'm talking about the 700 upper range here. But then the conference call starts, it could just rip apart there. So for me, this is like a no trade for me. Again, I think they're going to have strong revenue, but I think it's a conference call decision is where this trades after that. And I'd rather trade post the conference call.
Yeah. I mean, I like the sold call vertical there. Maybe you can make it a little bit closer if you want, but Yeah, I mean, overall, to me, I'd go short gamma, lean to the downside a little bit. That'd be my play on this one.
Yeah, and I think you just keep an eye out here on the weekly if you're kind of tracking this. Like 650 is clearly support here, and futures. Let me just see. Like we hit a
Which
high
is
of
shorter than 50
680.
bucks. So I mean, that's short gamma. You know,
Yeah,
if you're looking at 650 to the downside, that's short gamma.
yeah,
You know,
and I mean,
I would probably sit there with a condor, maybe 60 points apart, just so, you know, just in case. But I mean, that
yeah.
to me sounds like a great trade. The condor 60 wide, or 60 wide between the short strikes, the width maybe like $10 or something like that. But
Yeah. Well, and even the high in futures was, 680,
yeah.
and now it's trading about 671. So you can clearly
Well,
see
the other
that the
problem you
market
have too with all these earnings is that's the same day as
performed.
FOMC. So you're going to have some
Yeah.
FOMC jitters too in there.
Yeah.
All right. While right before we get to everybody's questions, vollanddiscord.com. Tomorrow we're going to go through. It's going to be an earnings bonanza. And you don't have to be a sub. Just go into the general room. We're going to have a general chat, and we can interact a little bit. We'll go through one by one. We'll go through, and you could leave comments, and we'll talk a little bit about the fundamental thesis, which I won't know so much. So, combine all that analysis, and I think it'd be a great opportunity for you to get through, get some earnings ideas. So most of them are after the close on Wednesday. So this will be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow that we'll have this chat. All right, so let's look. Shell Queen asks, how does skew look? You're trying to get me to show you Volland Institutional, aren't you? Yeah, no, that's where I'm not gonna give that kind of stuff on demand. That is very large edge, right? That's huge edge. So yeah, I'm not gonna give that on demand this time, but stay tuned. I'll poke it in there every now and again. Mostly when I don't want to say when I get fooled, or when something happens that I don't necessarily expect. So
Which is another reason to join the Discord and Volland. You give
yeah,
these great analysis and sneak peeks into certain things like that. So
yeah.
in the Discord. So yes.
Ramirez is given the percent of the index reporting on Wednesday. There's a chance that if those companies exceed and cross the current option scenario for them, you'd see another kind of squeeze in SPX. Honestly, I don't think so because there's not many people that are short the market right now. I mean, if they are, they're just building up positions. They just all got squeezed out. I think that, and that's just my kind of opinion. And we're still crawling up. You'd still be crawling up call levels. So I think the squeeze happened because a lot of people had to get out when they were not, when the market didn't tumble as much as they thought it would. Was it like 2 weeks ago? We ended up with like a 13% up move or something like that, 14% up move since then. So I think the juice is, the juice is out of the squeeze. So, they squeeze the juice out of the market here. So that's kind of my thought. Of course, I could be wrong, but I think the option structure, it would not support another 12% move up.
Yeah, and I think here's just your May OPEX as an example, right? Like, yes, you do have some quote unquote support here, but you still have massive magnetic volatility increases to the downside. And you look at to the upside, there's not a lot of room up, right? Like we've ran so much already. It's wild to consider what we've done here. But you're looking, let's say everything's bullish, including Iran, 7,300. Like that's kind of the top of what you're looking at here for right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like option traders are very optimistic on that. But a lot of times too, you could see the whole curve shift when, like, on a day when you're like, "Uh-oh, something's about to happen."
Yeah.
You don't know, but and that's kind of sad because that's like insider trading. So, interesting stats. I guess what you're talking about is my ORAT stats or the Volland stats. Not sure. What are the earnings? I believe it's Q1 2026 earnings for Meta. That's what we talked about. Anyway, El Waz Imashalan, come into the Discord, and tomorrow at 4 p.m. if you are interested in earnings, come for that general sub chat. So, all right, Jay, we're overtime again today, man. 35
I
minutes.
know. Well, there's a lot. There's a lot we had to talk about. I'm glad we
Yeah.
did it in that way so we could get everyone to like and subscribe because of how extensive our analysis is.
Like and
There we
subscribe.
go.
I gotta ask Jill later if we've seen an increase in likes and subscribes since we started since you have started talking about it all that much.
I'll be very disappointed if we're not. For everyone who's watching there, let's make this the highest liked and subscribed show in Volland's history.
Oh, this show would be like the channel is subscribed, right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and may Volland help you in your future trading ventures.